What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, the co-host of the Emerald Echo podcast, here with a look at the DC Collectibles Earth 2 action figure of Green Lantern, AlanScott. I have not had the easiest time in finding one of these with a good enough paint job for a review. I'll get more into that later, but for now, let's take a closer look at the package details. On the front and bottom, it says Green Lantern action figure. On the top, we get a partial window. There's product information on the bottom. On the side, we get a full body product shot. There is the creative team. On the side here, we get the silhouette artwork, and I really like that. On the back here, we see the other figures that are available in this wave. On the back, we get a headshot as well as a brief bio of AlanScott. If you'd like to read this, go ahead and pause the video and do so now. Here's a look at the front of the package. I like this Earth 2 logo up top, as well as this turned page design on the front. However, I do think that it obscures too much of the figure, and I wish it were smaller. But with that being said, now it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here is the figure free of the outer packaging, but still bound to the inner plastic. The figure also comes in this cardboard tray that says Earth 2. You might find this useful for your display. And here we see AlanScott out of the package and ready to rumble. AlanScott is woefully underrepresented when it comes to collectibles. And I really like this figure because it features the new 52 costume. This is a very sleek, attractive figure, although it does have its issues. So let's take a closer look at the loose details now. So we'll start with a look at the lower body here. And if you had the legs directly under the torso, the figure is well balanced. However, there's limited foot and ankle articulation, so in some poses, this figure's balance is not great. I do like this metallic green paint. I think that's really eye-catching. The sculpting on the top of the boots is very intricate. I really wish this figure had a midfoot hinge. It would have helped the balance so much. The quadriceps are sculpted very well. You can see very defined musculature here. These sections feature a more matte green than the boots, but nonetheless, the paint applications are still done well. So in terms of appearance, I think DC Collectibles hit the mark. Now we'll have a look at articulation. There's a single pin in the ankle, and so the foot pivots backward and forward, but that's about it. Unfortunately, there is no pivoting from side to side. The boot does swivel, as you can see here, so I do like that. Single jointed knee, and unfortunately it only goes up about that far, although that does allow you to get the figure into a running pose should you so desire. The first time that I saw pictures of this figure online, I thought that the hip articulation would be much better than it actually is. In terms of going directly out to the side, the legs only move out that far. The figure kicks forward this far, but unfortunately you have to angle the leg outward. The figure does step back a considerable amount, so I'm very appreciative of that. Unfortunately, I've heard stories of collectors saying that they accidentally popped off one of the legs just by doing simple poses, so take care when you're articulating this figure. Now we'll have a look at the torso, and once again, I think it's exquisite in terms of appearance and not so much in terms of articulation. The sculpting for the lantern symbol is superb, and I also like all of the sculpting back here on the latissimus dorsi. Lots of good musculature here. The sculpted lines on this top armored section are very exact, and I really appreciate that. Unfortunately, in terms of articulation, the torso is a single piece. There's no articulation in the upper or lower torso. DC Collectibles certainly could have done better. Now we'll have a look at the arms, and once again, in terms of appearance, this is quite well done. You can see the musculature here on the biceps and the triceps. Good sculpting on the fist. And the gauntlets are sculpted very well on both of the forearms. Speaking of the gauntlets, both of those rotate, and that does give you posing options. There's a single jointed elbow, and just like the knee, it is limited. However, we do have a bicep swivel on each of the arms. The shoulder joints can do a 360, so I do appreciate that. And you can raise the arms up at the shoulder joint and rotate them backward enough to get this figure into the big power pose. It is not perfect, but I do believe it is adequate. Here's a close-up of the ring, and the paint applications are excellent. I do like the reflectiveness of this ring. However, even though this version of AlanScott is powered by the elemental force, the green, he still has a lantern-shaped symbol on his chest. And I feel like the ring could have been a little bit more reflective of that motif, although it is vaguely lantern-shaped. Now let's take a look at the head sculpt, and there's very little to complain about here. The hair is extremely well done. You can see just how well it's been sculpted. It's very reflective of what we saw in the new 52. The ears are sculpted well. I really like how the mask looks. The cheekbones and jaw line are sculpted very well. Here's a look at the back of the head. And I like this expression. It's intense without looking angry. In terms of articulation, the head moves side to side easily. The movement upward is a little limited. It does look down well, and there is a considerable amount of head tilting here. If you're wondering how this figure scales with figures from other lines, here it is next to the DC Universe Classics AlanScott, as well as the McFarlane John Stewart. And I was surprised by this. I expected this figure to scale better with the McFarlane line, but I think due to the size of the standard body molds, it actually scales better with the DC Universe Classics line. And since I mentioned the spotty paint jobs before, this is actually the fourth one of these that I bought. This is the first one that I bought, and I did a fix-up paint job on this, and it came out okay, but I think I got the paint a little too thick. On this one, I did, once again, another fix-up paint job, only this time I had practice, so it came out better. But I'm happy to finally have one with a good paint job, as well as one still mint in box. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like and subscribe. Also, remember to recommend this channel to a friend. I would certainly appreciate it. And I'll be back with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.